So, like I said, my name is Dwayne, and the myth that I'm going to talk about today is stereotypes of the minority people, mostly Black and Latino descent. And a lot of people will see a Black person or a Spanish person and automatically identify them as some type of criminal or a person who is set out to be down the wrong path of life, doing just completely doing the wrong things and completely inferior to the rest of the society. What do you guys feel when you guys see a Black or Latino or any minority person, or what are the some stereotypes that may pop into your head?
I think for me that one, not really a stereotype, but one truth that I know is that the effects of being perceived a certain way over a certain period of time makes you almost start to adapt to that being the norm. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So when we get pulled over, I know when I've gotten pulled over by the police and they told me to get out the car and they've never told me why I was getting pulled over or anything, it became normal. It was regular. I saw my uncles get pulled over, my father. It was the norm, and it almost blinded me to the fact that you're violating my civil rights. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because we feel like we don't even have these rights. Like these rights don't even exist. You know what I mean? So that's how race has personally affected me, and I've always been someone that wanted to change that stereotype. You know what I mean? So when I got pulled up, I would be upset because it's almost like
It's
why do
not.
you think
You.
it's not?
Yeah.
It's not me. It's not people that even look like me. It's really people that look like you.
Right.
Really, honestly. And you're not gonna attack your own, so you choose to use us as the piece. So that's just my way on it. I'm probably biased. You know what I mean to that conversation, which I think we all are.
Right,
Definitely,
right,
I
right.
understand where you're coming from.
So I mean, when I see a minority, like Black or Latino, I automatically, immediately identify with them, just because I know the struggle and the stereotypes that come with being a minority, and it does negatively affect our like race or our group, but I feel like it brings us together too, because like I went to school and it was all majority Caucasians, and the only other Dominican on campus or the only other Spanish person, we automatically could, just because we are the minority and we feel like we have to stick together, just like have each other's backs and give ourselves that support that we need. And so, and I feel like it should bring us together even more instead of like just always fighting each other. But that's a different discussion, just because our communities lack the resources, and it's almost like a dog eat dog environment in our
Which
communities.
piggybacks into both of you guys' points that y'all made
Right.
earlier.
Yeah.
And my point about when going to school, you see somebody that you can identify with because they look like you or they dress like you or act like you, so you automatically go to connect with them. But it's funny that you bring up about being pulled over because, like yourself, I've been pulled over plenty of times, and 100% of the time I've been pulled over for reasons. They tell me why I'm pulled over for different things, but it's never really, I'm never at fault, or when they pull me over they come to find not what they was looking for. And actual facts stated that 80%, one year I believe it was around 1994 or so, in a year 80% of the people pulled over on highways on like random searches were Black or Latino people, and 97% of those people that were pulled over that were Black and Latino were absolutely guilty of nothing and had done no wrong, but because of the stereotype, because they're Black and Latino, they're automatically looked at or expected of or suspected of doing something wrong or being affiliated with some type of drug or criminal activity.
I think
So
that plays into the powers that be too, because people are going to automatically favor people that they can more closely relate to,
Hmm.
kind of, you know what I mean?
definitely.
So especially when you're dealing in terms of power. So, if the officer that pulls me over is white, the chief of police is white, the state is white, the district attorney is white, the lawyers are all white, and they have no connection with people that look like us, brown and
Definitely.
black people, or whatever the case is, then they have to have something that fuels the legal system or fuels whatever negative numbers that create positive numbers. So, those are the people who they use to get those numbers from because they don't look like themselves, and it's almost natural for them to. It shouldn't be natural, but it's almost natural for them to pick someone, and the person that they would pick, it wouldn't be the white person or the person that looks like their aunt or their cousin or their little brother. And even when
Hmm.
it comes to district attorneys or prosecution, there's they're just a lot more aggressive when it comes to, a young black or Latino man because of the stereotypes that are always portrayed about young black and Latino men. That, if you look on the news, anything,
Definitely. And
the
it's
stereotypes
easier.
are there. So.
It's easier for them to be able to pull over a black or Latino person because of that stereotype. So they'll say, well, we already have the stereotype for them, so it must be them. Or if it is, it is, and then we're doing our good job. If it's not, then oh well, pass it on to the next. But they don't want to get their own, like another white person, in trouble. They rather have the blame fall on a black person or have something covered up by a black or Latino person.
And we'll never really know the real numbers because if you're only targeting a certain group, you never know how much of the other group could be doing the same kind of crime. So when the numbers and the data pops up, it's always going to look more negatively in favor of the ones that you're more aggressively seeking to get the numbers from. And that's something that I think, is something that we almost internalize and just keep it as, we don't even think about it. It's almost like we already understand that. You already understand that if you walk into a job interview and, there's two white guys in front of you, that you're likely not going to get the job over them. That's kind of like almost how you walk into it thinking, being a minority, you know what I mean? Just because, again, the powers that be, the person interviewing is probably not going to look like you or not understand you even if he does. So.
And it's funny that you bring that up, because not only the stereotype hurt minority and like the legality from a legality point of view, but from an employment point of view, because not only is the DA Caucasian and the judge is Caucasian and the police officers, but so is the CEO, and so is the hiring manager, and so are the rest of the employees. So in the employment environment, it's hard for them to identify with you. So they don't have a motive to support you, and so it's just all around. It's just negative. It affects us negatively.
And I know a bunch of, like I say, all the time I see dudes that would look like, what the police or what people would stereotype, are a criminal, but they're in college.
Oh yeah,
You
no,
know what I'm saying?
absolutely,
So a bunch of them.
absolutely.
So, or they're doing something else positive too. You know what I mean? They're great fathers. They're doing whatever.
Right,
So
right,
and it's almost like we just automatically take on that, and the police come out with these views because they're not from the community more times, oftentimes. So they have these negative views of what people look like, who they're supposed to be, who are criminals to them. So
Definitely. Last point is that to bring up what you guys were talking about with jobs, because of the stereotypes, minorities have less resources, and it's harder for us or for them to find jobs and to venture out and expand or educate themselves because of these stereotypes. People already that feel like they're superior to minorities, they don't want anything to do with them because they feel like it will give them a bad reputation or it just won't be any good for them. Like they won't get anything out of it in the long run. So the stereotypes just keep minorities down, and they just keep them inferior to the rest of the world.